Great. Today we're going to look at how you turn a script, in this case a blog post that I'm writing, into an audio file and then bring it into Blender so that you can work on either a video or an animation or a storyboard, a podcast, or whatever you want to work on. Turns out Blender does not have an audio recording feature, not yet anyway. So we use another piece of open source software called Audacity, which you can get online for free. Isn't mapping on right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you do want to pick that microphone. You can pick it from here as well. So depending on which microphone is working on your system, pick that. And then when you go back and you play it, mapping on right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you do want to pick that microphone. Okay. You can select all of this and then delete that. And then what you will do is you will just very simply go to your screen where you have your audio script, and you could use a teleprompter, but in this case it's not necessary because we're not recording video at the same time. So if I'm going to record this, I will start to record and say, one of the biggest concerns we face today is what will low-income people, folks living paycheck to paycheck, do if there's a mandatory quarantine due to the COVID-19 virus? So you take a section like that and see if you like it. I can see that there's this long gap here before I started. So you can come in here and just delete that. And then one of the biggest concerns we face today is what will low-income people, folks living paycheck to paycheck. So if you like that, you can even go into effects and you can amplify this by doing Control-A to select all and then try again. So boom, select it with Control-A and then amplify, and you can make an amplifying preview. One of the biggest concerns we face today is what will low-income people, folks living paycheck to paycheck. So if you like that, then that's picking a certain level of amplification. You can change it. One of the biggest concerns we face today depends on your microphone, and then say OK, and then you'll see the amplitude just got bigger. You don't want it to peak out above getting close to the 1, but that's pretty good. One of the biggest concerns, and there's other effects that you can put on here. Some people put a compressor. One of the biggest concerns we face today, and you can bring the threshold up or down, the noise floor, the ratio, and see what that... One of the biggest concerns we face today. If compression is what you want to do, you can change the pitch as well. You can put in echo, you can put in reverb. So picking a certain room size. One of the biggest concerns we face today. But that's probably overkill for something like this. And there's delays and low-pass filters, vocal reduction and isolation. Certainly don't want to do that. Remove vocals. That's removing vocals. Didn't want that. But a lot of different cool things in here that you can play with. Noise reduction if there was noise. Removing click, changing the pace. Making the bass a little higher may help. One of the biggest concerns we face today is what will low-income people, folks living paycheck to paycheck, do if there's a mandatory quarantine due to the COVID-19 virus?
how many of us are prepared to spend a minimum of 2 weeks grounded at home. It's assumed that wealthier people will be able to afford home delivery and the higher price.
So you can play with that and then apply it. And you see what that did there? It boosted up the base levels.
One of the biggest concerns we face today
but it then
is
gets
what will low-income people, folks living
So you
paycheck
have to
to
be careful
paycheck,
with that, and you can hit an undo if you see a problem with that. I think for right now, I'm just going to take this audio clip and I'm going to save the project, first of all, and I'm going to call this in Audacity Audio Food Security 1. But that's just saving the project so I can keep working on it. To export it, to use it in Blender, you go to Export, and you can export as an MP3 or as a waveform. So I'll do an MP3 in this case, and I'll also let it go into the Audacity folder, which is in this PC documents, or possibly better is to go audio for envisioning lectures, and then I have the audio in one place. And I'll say OK, and it will render that audio. So now when you go to Blender and you come in, you make a new video editing file, which you could also have gotten to by doing new video editing. And then when you import from there, and you'll have to find the folder. In this case, my folder's in D, in my D drive, and then audio for envisioning. So there's my audio file, and you drag it down onto the timeline. There you have it.
one of the biggest concerns we face today is what will low-income people, folks living paycheck to paycheck, do if there's a mandatory...
Now, if you want to be able to see the waveform, click on the file and then go to the right where it says Audio, Adjust, and then do Display Waveform. And now you've got the waveform to play with. All right?
The biggest concerns we face today is what will low-income people, folks living paycheck to paycheck...
And then you can start working on your visuals for that. So you can record lots and lots of pieces. So I'll go back into Audacity and I'll record a new piece. And you can record those pieces one after another if you like. Or you can just record a new audio because you're doing it in chunks anyway. If I hit record here, as you can see, it's now recording my voice. And then when I go to play back from here,
as you can see, it's now recording my...
right, which is not what I want to do, and hit delete to that. But put my cursor there, and then I can record the next part. It starts recording, and I'll go back to my script. And so here I had a notification that went off, and I'm going to have to remove that one there, saying I don't have enough space on my OneDrive. What a pain. I wish I could turn that off. I probably can, and I just don't know how. It's just saying it. Oh, stop. Stop. Okay.
Take stock of what is going on and stock up on them to get through the lead.
There's that diddle-a-da. And the problem is it came right in the middle of a sentence.
That includes stimulants like sugar and coffee and tea and flour.
So you've got to bounce back and forth to find those little things.
Flour. But these are precisely the items that run out and stock up on them to get through.
It's right there at 54, near 54. So we want to be able to put a mark in. And to put a mark in, then we would... So what you do to add a label is you go to Tracks, and then you go to Add New, and then make a label track. And then with the label track, you should be able to it's changed since the original software. So they say you hit Control B, yeah, and that makes a label. that you can move about in the label track. And then you can type in, and that would be unwanted noise, for example. And we have to find exactly where that is, but
on them.
So it's not there, it's
On them.
It's right there.
To get through the lean times. To get through the lean times.
And you know where it is because you have this label track there, and you can name it. And you can name it noise to remove. The other thing is then you can say, well, I've got to re-record this section.
And stock up on them to get through the lean time.
And stock up on them to get through the lean times. So to record just on this, it's best in this software, unlike other audio softwares, to just record a new track.
And stock up on them to get through the lean times.
And that is a mess. So let me do it again. Undo. And now transport recording, record new track.
And
stock up on them to get through the lean times. But now if I do that, now I'm going to record the same problem. So I've got to mute this track so that I can do this, or use headphones. I'll try muting it. I'll hit edit, undo, record again. I'll mute this track, and then I will do the recording and the record new track. And stock up on them to get through the lean times. And now I can unmute this, and I can take this part and I can get rid of it. So I will delete it. But if I do that, I've moved everything around. So delete is not what I want to do. Is it cut? No, it's not cut. So I want to silence this, and maybe a way to do that. Can I move this up? I can't. I could cut and paste it. I can take this and copy it, and then take this and paste it. And now I can get rid of this because I don't need it anymore. So that can be deleted. In fact, that can be deleted there. And I should have
going on and stock up on them to get through the lean times. Things that don't go bad include stimulants like sugar.
So I got rid of the unwanted noise. I can delete that marker. And we can take this and render it out, just that section. So select it. So you can do it all at once or do it on the fly. But here now I'm going to export as MP3, but I'm going to do selected audio this time. So I just get that section there, and I'll pick the form down here. I'm going to use MP3, and now save it. No, I don't want to replace the other one, so let me give this another name. This is Food Security 2. Okay, and export that out. Come back into Blender and go up and come back in, and Food Security 2 should be there. If you're not seeing the name, then it helps to just drag this out. And it helps to move this from thumbnails to maybe a vertical list. There it is. Easier to see like that. All right, so drag that from the icon itself and bring it in, and then you can move it onto the track that you want to. And you'll notice that it's not, the audio waveform isn't showing up because it's on a track that doesn't have that feature. Now when I put it on this track, I've got to display white waveform for that chunk too.
One of the biggest concerns we face,
and here, when you try to start it, it's only going to play from the beginning. It's not going to play from here because we haven't got the rendering area wide enough. Between this black bar and this black bar is a restricted number of frames, and we're actually ending right now at 1855. So you've got to copy that and bring that into where it says end, so that it extends the black bar out to here, and then you can play.
Place the item that run out in anticipation of.
So there.
The delivery itself may be compromised. The question becomes,
we don't want that part of it, where that little on-off part is. We can move that in.
Delivery itself may be compromised. The question becomes, what sorts of staple foods can one effectively grow?
All right, so you're beginning to build then a narrative. Now, you could do a podcast, of course, in Audacity and never use Blender because you don't need to illustrate a podcast. But if you want to do illustrations, Blender is your ally in that. So if you go back and think about, as you're doing your blog, what images might I use for this? And sometimes it helps. My workflow would be to start with a script, illustrate the script, and then bring those illustrations into Blender. So if I came in and said, well, I want to put in a picture for this, what picture would I use? Low-income people at risk from all right. And then I'm going to my snipping tool, and I'm going to snip this. And I don't need all that. Nobody's going to read that. So let's go for the Telegraph. I guess we'd want to have the author there and global health security. So we'll go for this in terms of the picture and save as, and then we want to put it in the, I'm going to create a new folder called Images for Sustainability. I can then go to my other folder under Images, and food security picture will come in and drag it in, and now I've begun to illustrate, and I can drag it out here.
One of the biggest concerns we face today is what will low-income people, folks living paycheck to paycheck, do if there's a mandatory quarantine due to the COVID-19? One of the biggest concerns we face today is what will low-income people, folks living paycheck.
And so we can begin to illustrate and make a video that way. Low-income people
paycheck do if there's a mandatory quarantine.
So here's one. If the coronavirus spreads in America, food delivery companies could see a surge in demand. Are they ready? So once again, I can take this and there it is, home delivery. Bring that in there. Bring it down.
Paycheck do if there's a mandatory quarantine due to the COVID-19
so you can
virus.
Spread it out.
How many of us are...
And really, you can place your images so that it fits on each paragraph that you say. You can stretch it out and build it in that way, which is rather nice, working with it like that. All right, so that's one way to do it. The other thing is to be able to bring images in that you make in Blender. But at the same time, I want to show you that you can also, now that you're getting images, you should put them in your blog, and that gives you more deliverables. So I've put them into Blender. I've got them in a folder. I can now easily go in here and get it from a choose files, and they come in to my blog, and then I pick the one that I want and I add selected to there. And then I have the other one, and maybe I can cut that and place it somewhere else. And so what you're doing is you're creating a center. Oh, that was center, eh? Interesting. So you're creating a document for your script that's illustrated, and at the same time you're making a video at the same time. And you can do it in any order. I mean, you could actually find the images first in the script. The only reason I do it the way I do it is because we have a tendency, if I say what kinds of staple foods, for example, if we put it in here first, place the image. What you don't want, the tendency that you don't want to do is to, you better have the right names for this, because you might not be able to find it later on. And if you do a link, if you make the mistake of doing a picture from a URL, then you won't be able to get it and put it into your Blender or video. So if you have it in a folder, you can always drag it in. This is not a big problem. Now I can go to Blender again, and I can refresh this. And then there's Crisis Food, and bring that and drag it down here. Use G, hit the G key, and then you can move something. G is for grab, and then you can move this out and place it there.
The question becomes what sorts of...
And I just want to show you that in between you can add dissolves. Strip there, I'll place these on top of one another where I want the dissolve. And then I'll pick this one, pick the one on top of it with shift click, and then I will go up to add a transition and make my cross dissolve and keep that on a separate track. And it comes out much cleaner. That is then the dissolve, not the stuff between it. It gets funky for some reason. So you'll be dancing around with things like that for this. All right. So now I want to get to the point where I can add a coronavirus.
Experts are saying that one of the chief factors affecting mortality from the coronavirus is a compromised immune response.
So if I want to show an animation of the coronavirus and an immune response, then I need a model of the coronavirus. Now, if I go online to look for it and I type in coronavirus 3D model, you'll see that there are some, but they cost on TurboSquid $29 for this one. That's not one that's for sale. TurboSquid has this one for €51, this one for $59, this one for $29, this one for 5,000 Japanese yen. So you can make a lot of money designing some of this stuff, can't you? But it doesn't look like it's that difficult to make. So it'd be great to make it in Blender. I mean, we can look on TurboSquid and see if there's any free models. Coronavirus, and that's $34, that's $39, that's $44, that's $39, that's $34. So I don't think that we're going to find one for free. There's two. Well, let me be there. We don't have to worry about it. That one's free and it's animated. That one's free. There's a whole collection of them. Okay, so we don't have to actually design them. We can just get them. Free download. That's very nice of Jenny85 for giving us that. Make yourself a TurboSquid login. I've got mine. And then you can download that collection. And the one I do, 3D Max, show all. I'd rather use an object file. And then there's the textures that you'll want. So I'll go for a high poly and download that. And I'll go for the each of the noises and things of that matter. Might as well get the low poly as well. And then we can play with it. So I've downloaded those, and now I need to find them in the folder, which is going to be in my downloads folder. There they are. And I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to cut them out of downloads and bring them into not images, but I'll do a new folder called, and paste it in there so I can easily find it. So now I'll come in here and I'll go to my layout, and I'm going to change the name. I was working on making my own virus, as you can see, and I was going to have it move around, but I don't need this anymore because I'm not going to be using my own model. Instead, I'm going to change the name. It's not red ball scene anymore. It's going to be Corona. Oops, there it is, coronavirus. And in this coronavirus scene that I'm creating, I will now import the OBJ that should be in 3D images for the lectures. And there's the low poly and there's the high poly. So let me just try the, oh, it's huge, goodness gracious. So I gotta shrink that down. Oh, okay. So there it is. Now it doesn't have any textures right now. And I did get the texture map, and let me make sure that I've got that in the right place. There's a noise texture and there's a background image. What does the background image look like? Let's just look at it in Paint program and see. Okay, not so interesting. And then there's this this RAR, which I will extract. And let's see what's in those. Yeah, those different textures, including a normal map. Okay, so this one here, it needs to have a texture. All right, well, it turns out it's because in Blender 2.8, you don't use the texture, actually. So goodbye. Not going to use the texture. Isn't that strange? What instead you do is you go to the base color and you do something to the base color. You click there on that little circle there, and then for the texture, you go to image texture, and then you open up your image, which we have as in here. And then you start to get it there. We have a coronavirus, and we want that coronavirus in our video, looking at the camera. We want it to start multiplying. And so how about if I make it set on the keyframe here, I set a location, rotation, and scale, and then I go to about 2 seconds in and move it over here and rotate it, and then I hit a location, rotation, scale for that, so that makes it kind of floating around. And as I do that, I can also add another one. I can here hit an Alt-D, which duplicates it, and then I can hit location, rotation, scale there, although it didn't quite move. There it is. And move that location, rotation, scale there. Alt-D actually isn't going to do it. I need to do a Shift-D, and then I should be able to have this thing move. So yeah, it splits, and then I can do another Shift-D and have that one split off there and hit location, rotation, scale. So I have them splitting off, and let me do the same thing here. I will hit a Shift-D, and I'm going to select all of these and hit location, rotation, scale. And then it looks like it's multiplying and coming back together because of this last keyframe, which I really actually don't need anymore. So I'm going to delete that keyframe. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, only this time I'm going to split them all and then move them around. I'm sure that the biology of this is all wrong. I don't think that that's all the way that these aren't bacteria, so they don't actually split with mitosis like this. But just for the purpose of fun right now, that's what I'm going to do. And so I have this, this frightening animation.
One of the biggest concerns we face today.
Okay, of this this virus multiplying. Now, this coronavirus then, in order to be used in our video, has to be duplicated. So I'm going to click on this and do a full copy, and it's going to say, now, when I go to video editing and I get to that point of my video where I want to say
Coronavirus is a compromised immune response.
Compromised immune response. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to add a scene, and the scene is called coronavirus. It shows up now, right? And it shows up, it's absurdly long because it's the length of the entire darn video. That's how much it rendered out. So drag that back. And we just want it to be that little section of play there. So I'm going to play with that. It's a bit annoying. Move that down. Right? Until you can get to the grab bar and then grab it. Now, how many frames was it really? Well, that little animation is only a few frames. So remember, you have to hit G if you want to move the whole thing over. And then let's see what plays on the screen. All right.
From the coronavirus.
All right, so here's where it says
There's affecting mortality from the chief
factors affecting mortality, and that's where it begins. Let's see.
Mortality from the coronavirus. The chief factors affecting mortality from the coronavirus.
Make sure I'm at where it begins, and then hit G to move it about. Click off of it, and then hit G, and then you can move it. So the chief
factors affecting mortality.
The chief, where's the chief? Oops.
Saying that one of the chief factors affecting mortality from the coronavirus is a compromised immune response.
So maybe we'll just trying to show you can add that
in.
in.
One of the chief factors
Now, why isn't it showing up here? Because the preview, apparently, of the scene is in. I don't really know, because I'm here. I can see it.
From the coronavirus is a compromise,
and it doesn't play. The video editor doesn't play when you're in layout, so you'd have to be back in video editing to see that. But why it's green, why it's black and white, could be color and alpha, image preview, color and alpha, color display channels, view. Well, it'll render out the right color. The important thing to note is that you have this ability to
the question becomes
to video edit and to use within your movie. You can use different scenes that you create.
One of the chief factors affecting mortality from the coronavirus is a compromised immune response.
And when you're working on this, the cool thing is you can go in and you can add camera moves as well. So if you go back out to layout and you've got your keyframes and you say, well, okay, I want the camera to move. So I'm going to click on the camera here and select location, rotation, scale. And then when I get to here, I want to actually move the camera. And let me split the window so that we can see. Can split the window. It used to be easier to split the window. It's not that. Blimey. Used to be really easy to split a window in this view, and it doesn't really give me an ability to split a window. Hold on for a second. Oh, okay, they've changed it a bit. You actually click and then right click and you can do vertical split or horizontal split. So if I do a vertical split, then I can choose what I want to split here. And now, let me move this back because I don't need this anymore. Now I can see what the camera is seeing over here by making this hit 0 and go into camera mode. And then I can move the camera about in here. And, oh, how did I get 2 cameras? We certainly don't need 2 cameras. So we just need 1 camera. How many cameras do we have? We should just have 1. All right. So move the camera up and over and rotate it looking down, and you can sort of track it. And if you like where that is, then you can have this this camera move. Of course, that first one doesn't look great for me, so I'm going to move that to there and then sort of center this up, and then I'm going to hit location, rotation, scale, and now the camera is tracking that. So it just gives it a bit of motion that you can do in there. And when you go back to your video editing, then that is what you should see, although it didn't update it. Why? Because where I was doing that was in Coronavirus 1, that copy that I'd made. So I'd have to open this up and go to Coronavirus and do the same thing. And that one didn't have that. So this one needs the camera to be set. Oops, just the camera. And now it put in another camera. Isn't that interesting? I guess each one has its own camera. So be alert to that. So this is the one I'm going to put first camera move, and then I'm going to move my camera, this camera now, tilt it down. Every scene has its own camera, it appears like. Hit that keyframe there, and then go and move the camera as it does that. Actually, let's on this one here, let's zoom in. And then when we come out, we can delete that. So it would pull out. So let's say the first frame should be radically in, even more so. There we go. And then hit I. And now it pulls out as everything moves. That's happening in the coronavirus scene now, not coronavirus 0.001. But I had to create a coronavirus 001, or the video editor would not have recognized it. And now that I changed it, that disappeared for some reason. And so I have to go to scene. Now it doesn't let me get that scene. Maybe this is how it works. Maybe you've got to pick a different scene. Yep, there we go. So it only lets you see it when you're not working on that scene. But there's our camera move. Yeah. All right.
Affecting mortality from the coronavirus is a compromised immune response. But these are precisely the answers saying that one of the chief factors affecting mortality from the coronavirus.
Now all we have to do is finish illustrating, but
many people will turn to foods that store well and hoard them if they can.
So if I wanted to, I could put other images in here of grains and such. So all I want to check now is
The price
if I can render this out and whether it will render the colors. So I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to click here and add a transition, the cross. So there's a bit of a cross there. And I'm just going to render this section out from here, which is, let's see if there's a way to change the way that it looks. View the, it would be nice if I could see the actual frame up in here rather than the hour. That would be under strip. It doesn't say if there's a way to look at those frames here, but I can see them down at the bottom here, so that's okay. 1517 and then end at 1855. So I do frame start 1517 and then end at 1855 and render region. And so I'm just going to render this region, and I'm going to set it to a folder, which is my Blender renders folder. And I'm going to, for the output, I don't want PNG. I want to do now an FFmpeg video with encoding. I do want to have the audio codec be an MP3. And let's just check that out and see what that looks like when we render this. So in order to render it, I would go up to the I set my frame. I want to go to render and render animation. And it says Blender rendering is not supported by sequencer. Okay, fine, don't do that then. Where do I do my rendering then? Modifiers, the strip, color, video, transform. Somewhere in here it should allow me to do my rendering from the sequencer. Render, sequence, render animation. All right. So it's rendering, but it doesn't render with the audio when it renders. And you can see it's not rendering the color. All right, that's what we wanted to see. And that's a shame. Now it's done. So when I actually go and look in the folder for my Blender renders, which would be, checking here for a moment to see where it went to. Tutorial Blender renders. So Blender renders are here, and when I play it, it would be this one here.
Crisis. The irony is that these are often the least healthy foods that we can eat. Experts are saying that one of the chief factors affecting mortality from the coronavirus is a compromised immune response.
So it didn't render the color, and we have to figure out why that is. But it is at least rendering the movie out as it should. So that's all for now. I'm going to continue to work on figuring out how to make this all work and get back to you. Bye.